Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes and my oils and lye are about the same temperature. The lye is just maybe about 3 or 4 degrees hotter than the oil, so I mean that's okay. They're within the same range. I wouldn't, if the lye was like, I don't know, 120 and the oils were like 105, then I would bring the temperature of the lye down a little bit. Try to keep the oil at the steady temperature. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the lye into the oils, and I'm hoping that I can get a shot where you can kind of see how that's going to look. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to take this out. There. And what I do is when I stir, I just kind of stir it in really slowly, and I stir it with the whisk. I'm going to see if I can get a shot real quick. Let's see if you can kind of see the oil has kind of gotten a little bit more opaque. So I'm just going to stir that for a second, and then I'm going to get my stick blender. I'm going to set my camera. Hopefully you guys can see. Okay, that should be pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about this. It's kind of hard to do when you're by yourself. So I'm just going to stir this a bit. Just for a minute. And then now I'm going to get the stick blender and I'm going to start blending. So when you're using your stick blender, you want to make sure that it's covered, that there's not, that it's not poking out, so that when you turn it on that the oil kind of splashes everywhere, because it does have lye in it. It's caustic. And what I do is I just kind of do little bursts. So, and let's see if you can kind of see that it's kind of changing a little bit. It's starting to become more white. And you'll see that I just kind of do bursts. The reason that I do that is because I don't want my stick blender to burn out. So I just kind of turn it on, just kind of go around a little bit. You don't want to just keep it on continuously stirring, because you will burn out your stick blender. So even though this is a high-powered one, I still don't want to burn it out. So I'm just going to keep stirring. And what I'm looking for is for what's called trace. And so trace is when, let's see, it starts to get a little thick. The mixture gets thick. It's getting thick now, but it's not quite where I want it. It's going to be like, if you can imagine, pudding. That's what I'm looking for. And so I'm just going to keep stirring this. And I'm just going to keep doing it. It's starting to come there. I've noticed that lard, because I don't normally use animal fats. I'm a vegan, which I know it's probably a conflict of interest that I'm using lard, but at any rate, I've noticed that it takes longer to come to trace than when I use my just all vegetable oils. So it's going to be a little bit. You can kind of see. Oops. You can kind of see it's starting to get thicker. Let me see if I can turn this so you can see it. And the reason why they call it trace is that when you are, like, if I drop some of the droppings down, it'll kind of stay on the surface, but then it goes down. It's getting there. I'm gonna stir this, keep whisking this a little bit longer. It's getting thicker. Okay, so this is getting very thick. right in there. So you can kind of see. Almost there. It's really easy. It's just that you have to make sure that you follow the precautions. You don't want to harm yourself or harm others. Like I said, make sure that if you have children that they're not in the kitchen while you're doing this. Or, you know, if you have pets that they're not in. Okay, this is getting pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my oil. Now, I don't use fragrance oils because I have a lot of chemical sensitivities. I use essential oils, and I am using orange oil, which is a citrus oil. Sometimes when you are using citrus oils, they will seize your soap, and by what I mean by that is that it'll just turn, the consistency will change. It'll be like really dried mashed potatoes, and you'll know it when it seizes. I haven't had a problem with that happening with this recipe, but I have had it happen with some other ones that I've done. I think a lot of times when I've used like palm kernel oil, it's happened to me. But what you can do is you can take a little bit of your base soap, and when it's come to a light trace, mix the essential oil in that, and then add it to it so that it won't do that. And a lot of times when you use fragrance oils, the seizing will happen. And so when you buy a fragrance oil, the manufacturer will tell you what the flash point is, and so you want to pay attention to that, because that'll tell you the best temperature or the temperature that's going to, if you do it higher than that, what will cause your soap to seize. So this is almost ready. Just going to do a little bit more. Okay. So we're at a thick trace. I'm going to see if you can kind of see how it's like pudding. So that's what I want. So what I'm going to do now is get my mold. This is basically it for cold process soap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into the mold, and then I'm going to put a little bit of saran wrap over it, and then I'm going to set it downstairs in my basement, wrap it up in some towels so that it can what's called saponify. And so that's where it goes through all the stages. It's going to gel. It's going to basically cook, but not directly. This mold is just a basic like little loaf thing that I got at, like, I don't know, the Christmas tree shop. It was like a couple of bucks. Like I said before, when you're cooking, cooking your soap and doing the lye, you don't want to use aluminum. It's the same thing with the mold. You don't want to use an aluminum mold. But molds are, you know, that's like the easiest thing that you can do, because you can always get like a cardboard box and just line it with freezer paper. And there are a lot of tutorials out there that can show you how to line it. I mean, you can use pretty much anything as a mold. Again, you just want to make sure that it's not like tin or aluminum, because that's going to eat away. So we're just going to scrape through. And that's going to be it for right now. The soap, I'm going to let this harden overnight. So, well, that's what I would typically do with the lard soap. It doesn't take as long for it to harden. So you can just kind of, I'm going to show you the mold, show you the soap in the mold, and I kind of got a splash, but this is laundry soap, so I'm not really worried about it. But basically, when you make your soap, you're going to insulate it, and anywhere between 24 and 48 hours once it hardens, and then you can kind of cut it. You'll cut it into your bars, and then after that, because it's cold process, you have to let it cure. And so what I mean by that is you set it somewhere where air can get through to it. Typically, soaps take about 4 to 6 weeks to cure. The lard soap, I found, doesn't take quite as long. It's usually hard, like this will be hard in a week. I have some other soap that I did about a week and a half ago that I'm going to show you the next step as far as making laundry detergent. So this is it for this tutorial, and I will come back later with the one on finishing the process and making some laundry soap. Bye-bye.